So a few years ago, when I first became interested in manifestation and law of attraction and law of assumption and all that kind of stuff, I read this book by Neville Goddard called Feeling is the Secret. And this book was very helpful in my whole journey of learning about manifestation and then eventually embodying it and experiencing it. Because I learned that it actually starts with the feeling. It starts with embodying the feeling, the emotion of what it would be like to have whatever it is you're trying to manifest. And then when you start to have that feeling, when you embody it, that's the precursor. And you have this sense of letting go of the outcome, law of detachment. And then that's typically when whatever it is you were trying to manifest comes into your life. But while that was a big part of my journey and brought me a lot of clarity and insight, my question was, okay, how do I actually maintain this feeling? So maintaining the feeling or trying to attain the emotion became a challenge for me. It became something that eventually set me back a little bit because I was confused and I was like, how in the world can I just maintain this positive state of being, this elevated state of emotion all the time? If this is the precursor to manifestation, then how does this actually and practically work? And after trying different things out and experimenting with different methods and techniques, eventually I was like, I don't think I can do this. It became too much of a challenge and it wasn't working. I wasn't seeing the things manifest, and it just it set me back. So I got away from that stuff for a while and I started focusing on self-discovery, and I started going within, and I started to see things from a completely different perspective. And what happened was I realized, looking back, that so much of the whole manifestation mindset that I had in the past was coming from this place of separation consciousness. And it was also coming from this place of almost like needing to manifest certain things or outcomes in order to be okay. And that's what I mean by separation consciousness. I was it was almost like the thing that was driving my life at that time was this subconscious belief of I am not enough. Okay? And so from that place of I am not enough, I was thinking if I could manifest something that I really wanted, then that would make me feel like I was enough, or that would make me feel like I mattered. So that's what was going on. I was really chasing the feeling because deep down I didn't have that feeling, because the reason I didn't have that feeling was because I believed deep down that I wasn't enough and that there was something wrong with me, that I was unworthy. And these subconscious beliefs that we have run our lives 95% of the time, and they're subconscious. So you're not aware of them until you start to go within and you start to do the inner work and you start to see what these things actually are. So for me, once I started to experience that, once I started to experience that inner freedom and that clarity, and I started to dissolve these limiting beliefs, then I noticed that there was this inherent sense of wholeness and peace and joy and fulfillment that was always there, hiding behind these different limiting beliefs that were conditioned within me at a young age. All these different programmings and the things I had learned growing up had become layers of clouds, as I like to call them, like clouds that block what is actually going on. But again, once those clouds dissipated and I saw for myself through direct experience who I really am, that's when everything changed. And that's when I realized that, wait a second, because now I had clarity, I realized, wait a second. What I've always wanted was actually the emotion. It was never the thing that I thought I wanted, that I was trying to manifest, the material object or the circumstance or the relationship or whatever it was. It was never about those things. It was about the emotion that I thought came with having those things. That's what I was chasing. That's what I was actually trying to manifest, and I didn't even realize it, or trying to attain. But through this process of awakening, letting go of who I thought I was, discovering who I really am, I realized that all of these different emotions and feelings that I had been chasing outside of myself were always within me, because they are expressions of my true nature. And so it's been said by different sages and mystics, like, you are what you seek, right? It's all within you. Everything you've been searching for, the entire kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, is within you. And when you go within and directly experience that, it changes everything. And now your whole approach to manifestation and law of attraction changes. Because now you are experiencing the feeling, and you know that that's what your soul has been longing for, the experience of knowing itself and the freedom and wholeness and peace that naturally comes from that. So now you're experiencing that, and now you're totally detached from the outcome of like trying to manifest these things in the 3D world. And the sequence of it is, when you're navigating the human experience in that energy of wholeness and freedom and love and authenticity, then all of a sudden you start to attract these things into your life that are on the same frequency as these different elevated emotions. So these positive things start to flow into your life. And you're not even, at that point, you don't even really want, or you don't need these things anymore. These things that you, at one point, like I said for myself, I thought I needed to manifest all these certain things to be okay. The need goes away. You let it go. You're detached from the outcome. You don't even want it anymore. And when you don't need it, because you already have what you really wanted all along, which is the feeling, then again, that's when you attract it, and that's when you experience it. And to me, that's what manifestation and the law of assumption is actually all about. So this was really helpful, because just like I talked about in the beginning of this video, like, yes, it starts with the feeling. But if you've learned this, if you've been hearing people talk about, oh, it's the law of assumption, and you have to assume the feeling or experience the feeling in order to manifest whatever it is you're trying to manifest, that's good. That's the first step, the recognition, the awareness of that. But what I'm saying is the next level is the understanding that it was always about the feeling. It's not just about embodying the feeling as a way to get what you want. It's seeing that the feeling, the emotion really, is the very thing you've wanted all along. Because if you really think about it, when you sit there and think about these different things outside of yourself that you've been thinking that you want, when you're honest with yourself, you start to see that it was never the thing. It was the emotion that you thought you would have if you were able to manifest these certain things into your life. But like if you're trying to manifest a car, for example, do you really want that big piece of metal and rubber? Like, no, you don't actually want that. It's not about that. It's about the feeling of having that car and driving that car. The freedom, the joy, the bliss, the feeling of you matter, like that. That is what you're actually chasing. Same thing with a relationship. It's about the connection. It's about the acceptance. It's about the unconditional love that actually is your true nature. And when you're in a relationship, the other person that you're with is acting as a mirror. They're showing you who you really are. They're activating your true self. And that's why we fall in love. Like, falling in love is actually about experiencing your true nature, and the person that you're with that you think is the source of that love is simply activating, or in your mind, like, giving you the permission, or really you're giving yourself permission because of this other person to embody and express your true nature, which is love. But you were always the source of that love. Whatever you're feeling when you're in a relationship, when you're in love, is coming from you. It's not coming from the other person. It was always from you. It was always self-generated. Same thing with anything, you name it. Like, it's never about the thing. It's never about the circumstance or the relationship. It's about the emotion. It's about the feeling, the energy. And all along, it's always been you. It's always been generated by yourself, and it's the experience of your true nature. That's what it's all about. You are the manifestation. So, if you have all of these things that you're trying to manifest, or you want to shift these certain situations or circumstances in your life, one approach is to be totally fixated and focused on the external things and spend all this time, energy, and effort trying to change it all, which is exhausting, by the way. It's really exhausting. And it's almost like this endless cycle of performance and striving, and it's just, it's a miserable way to live, to be trying to fix and solve all these external problems all the time. So that's one approach. The other approach is to go within and to really focus on your inner state of being, which comes from your inner state of being, the experience of peace and groundedness and clarity is a byproduct of your subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind being freed from these limiting beliefs. So I always go back to the subconscious because that's how important it is. It is literally running your life 95% of the time. So it's a big deal. When these limiting beliefs that, like I said, were conditioned in you at a young age are dissolved, and you see through them, and the light of your consciousness dissolves the shadows and the darkness that's been within the subconscious, then all of a sudden, your body responds, your nervous system responds. Your nervous system is responding to whatever it is that's in your subconscious. And it will regulate itself when these limiting beliefs dissolve, and there's truth living in the subconscious, and there's light shining. The nervous system responds to that, and it regulates. And so you start to feel more relaxed. You start to feel peaceful and calm and at ease, and you have this clarity, and this wisdom starts to flow. You start to feel safe. You start to feel authentic, or you give yourself permission to be authentic. And that is when you are now embodying these elevated emotions, and life becomes simple and easy. And you become really focused on that. You become really focused on discovering different things, different modalities that are conducive to you operating in this elevated state of being and emotion. And then, because you have this expansion of consciousness and this heightened awareness, you're very observant of anything in your life that would try to bring you into these lower frequencies. And so no matter what it is, if it's not aligning with your true nature, you start to let those things go, because you know it's not worth living in this place of survival or this place of performance and then jeopardizing your inner peace. You become very, very aware of that, and protecting your peace becomes a major priority. Protecting your inner state of being, your frequency, all of those things become really important, because you know that everything that you're experiencing is from the inside out. You don't see life as it is, you see life as you are. And the emotions that you're experiencing either bring clarity to your perception or they cloud your perception. So, again, spending time doing things that are conducive to living from that regulated state where you can actually embody these elevated emotions and feelings, and you just fall in love with life. You fall in love with yourself. You fall in love with the journey, the process of the entire human experience and what it means to be human. And you start to see the divine in the ordinary, common, mundane elements of life. And everything starts to shift. You literally start to live in a new world because you're operating from this brand new state of being, which is it's not even a brand new state of being. It's your true self that's been there all along. So it's a return to your original wholeness, to your original innocence. That's what this journey is all about. It's not about gaining anything. It's not about climbing some ladder or some mountain to enlightenment or whatever. No, it's about returning back to what has always been there. It's dissolving the clouds so that you can see the clear blue sky, the sun that's always been shining. That's what this is about. And when you get this, when you see this, it becomes so effortless. There's a grace. There's this flow to it all. It's a graceful dance. And when you learn how to dance with this flow, with this rhythm, things start to align. You start to attract instead of chase. And you're living from inspiration instead of desperation. That's the biggest difference. And for me, I say this a lot, but for me, inspiration is what it means to be in spirit. Like the next time you're experiencing inspiration, really sit with that, meditate on that, and ask yourself, what is this energy? Like when I'm inspired, it feels so good. There's all this clarity. There's this expansion of consciousness. Yeah, that's because you're in spirit. You're operating from the spirit, from the soul, instead of from the ego, instead of from these past patterns and these old narratives and these limiting beliefs. And it's freedom. And from this place of freedom, you start to know things that before you couldn't know from your limited, finite, human, egoic mind. You start to receive these different insights and wisdom and downloads from source consciousness. You start to have these intuitions. And just by being regulated, by connecting with nature, by meditating, by being grounded, all of this divine experiential knowledge starts to fill your awareness. And it's pretty amazing. And this is like, again, going beyond the analytical thinking mind. This is a heart knowing, not an intellectual knowing. And you don't have to read like all these books and study all this stuff and listen to hours of teachings. It's just a matter of discovering it within yourself, knowing that all of it has always been within you, within the kingdom of heaven. And like I said, it's a different kind of knowledge. And books are great. There's actually some books that will point us to how to experience this deeper knowledge within ourselves. Or sometimes you'll read something in a book or hear something that someone says that remind you of a truth that you've always known. So it will awaken these different insights and wisdom that's been hidden within you. But what I'm saying is not to totally rely on different things like books or social media or these different lectures for knowledge, thinking that that's the only way you can, receive more knowledge. It's not. It's an aspect. You can learn a lot from that kind of stuff. But what I'm saying is there's so much more that you can know or that you can remember from the level of the heart, from the level of the soul, from this space of openness and freedom and oneness and being in nature and meditating and grounding and loving yourself, embodying that unconditional love is really how you experience and access that divine wisdom and knowledge. And it's amazing how much you can grow and evolve from just living in this state of being, of openness, of trust, of freedom. Yeah. So, yeah, this is, to me, pretty amazing when you can start with what's within you and you know that that's where the focus has to be. It's whatever is within you. The outside world, the external circumstances, all of that will handle itself, and the river is coming from within you. That's the way of the flow. That's the way of the Tao. And so when you start to embody this new energy, this new frequency from this new level of consciousness, which again is just your true self, it's a return to original wholeness. When you start to embody that frequency, the outer world starts to reflect that. And your frequency is sending out a signal into the universe. And when you're regulated and you're really walking in that peace that surpasses all understanding, things become very easy and effortless. And that's what I was saying earlier. That's when the attraction just happens. That's when you're not even, at that point, you're not even thinking about how do I manifest this or how do I manifest that, because you are the manifestation. And you're attracting these things into your life that are in alignment with your true self, but they're also beyond anything you can think, ask, or imagine. Maybe you were spending all this time trying to manifest something, trying to figure it all out, trying to discover the best way for it to happen. And a lot of that, like I said earlier, comes from the ego. And so we get invested into these different egoic plans, and we think that these certain plans that we have for us are like the best plans possible and the best possible outcomes, and we get so attached to this stuff. And that's what I was saying. That's where a lot of the manifestation is coming from. But what happens is when you let go of all of that and you start to understand the importance of what you really want, which is the emotion, and you discover who you really are, and that emotion just starts to naturally rise within you, and then you're embodying that and expressing that and sending that signal out into the field. Then what happens is the things that you start to attract into your life, they're way better. They're way beyond anything you could think of before from your limited egoic mind. Way better. And your soul knows that. And that's why, honestly, this whole game of manifestation, it's so much better when you don't really know what you're going to attract, because it gives it this element of surprise and thrill, and it's fun. If you knew what you were going to manifest and you knew exactly how much it was going to be and what it was going to look like and when it was going to arrive, that would get boring pretty quickly. But this way of manifestation that I'm describing, where it's just like this flow, this effortless attraction from your being, where you don't really know what it's going to be because you're not even thinking about it. You don't need anything specific, or you're not trying to manifest. You're letting go of the want. So you're not thinking about it. You're just in love with life, and you're in love with yourself and your frequency and these simple things, these the basics of being, as I like to say. Returning to the basics of being. You're focused on that. You're not focused on anything else. You're not focused on trying to manifest things. Like, that is when you start to attract these things into your life that, like I keep saying, are just, it's beyond anything you can think, ask, or imagine. And that's what you're actually falling in love with. You're falling in love with the surprise and the thrill of things happening when you least expect it. That's what I was looking for earlier. I was trying to say that. It's what we fall in love with the most is these amazing things, these miracles happening when we're not looking for them, when we least expect them. And that's the other thing. The energy of looking and checking is the energy of lack. It's the energy of not having. So it's actually repelling the different things that we want. Because again, check your emotional state, check your feeling and your frequency when you're looking. What is that? What emotion is that? And what are you operating from? It's desperation, not inspiration. Inspiration is wholeness, it's fulfillment, it's I know that I am enough, I'm already complete, I don't need anything outside of me to be complete. That's inspiration. And from inspiration, from that energy, from that feeling, you can attract so much more than your ego ever thought. And again, it's the thrill of not knowing exactly what it is. That's what makes this human experience and the manifestation game in the human experience so magical. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you learned something or remembered something. And if you have any questions about anything I mentioned today, please leave those questions in the comment section below. So that's it for today. If you found this video helpful, informative, or insightful, please leave a thumbs up at the bottom of the screen and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.